Come on now, come on, won't you come with me? Time to let it go and be free. Won't you come and breathe the open skies? Come now, come listen to the melody. Slow it down, put yourself at ease. Time to live it light.
Well, today has been quite the crazy day. If you can tell behind me now, it's actually kind of sunny. Did not start out anything like that. Through the night, last night, the waves and the wind continued to build, not too bad. And when I came on shift around 8 o'clock in the morning, I'd say winds were between 20 to 25 and seas were 3 meters. And then we got a couple of storms that passed through, which winds went up to 30 or so, and then the seas, I'd say they were at least 4 or over, with like these just crazy cresting tops, wind blowing, frothy, like all that stuff that you are actually pretty scared of when you're on land thinking about leaving, but once you're out here in it, it's actually not so bad. It wasn't comfortable, but you know, we got through it. But today has just been the day of shifty wind. I think we have done 9 jibes so far, and we're probably going to be doing another one here in just a second, but we're trying to keep a course of around 50 to 55 degrees, and we're either going 25, 75, because the wind just keeps getting right behind us, and every time we jibe, we're there for an hour, and then goes to the other side. Have to jibe again, so oh well, keeps us on our toes, I guess.
Yeah.
So what did you think about our crazy day today?
It wasn't that bad.
It really wasn't.
We did have one issue. The autopilot rudder position sensor, which is the sensor that's attached to the actual rudder, and it tells its position. It tells what kind of angle it's actually at. It failed. Suddenly we got a warning, and the autopilot went haywire type of thing, and it said the rudder position sensor failed, and all of a sudden it stopped reading that information. Now the autopilot luckily will still work without it. It's set up that it's smart enough to know kind of where the rudder is, estimate where it is, and it's working okay without it. My big fear was there's a big, strong hydraulic ram on the rudder, and
That's a big thing.
there's a big, strong hydraulic ram on the rudder, and if it doesn't know where the position of the rudder actually is, it can overpower it and it potentially either break the hydraulic ram if it overextends or underextends. But it shouldn't do that because we have rudder stops. There's where the rudder will only go over so far over. Problem is, if you get this big strong ram pushing against that, something's going to break, and I don't know what's going to break first. So without that rudder position sensor, it is kind of a little scary with that. But it's fine, it's working just fine. We do have the wind vane as well, but we're doing a straight downwind course right now, and just with this boat, it just doesn't work as well as the autopilot does. The autopilot does a much better job sailing downwind in waves like this. So we're stuck with the autopilot right now. We're still using it. Hopefully when we get a cork, we can get a new rudder position sensor, or I can fix this one. Right now, the thought of hanging inside the lazarette upside down and playing with wires really doesn't sound too pleasant in the seas. So I will wait. Other than that, we had the mainsail up. We ended up taking that down. And even then, you know, we were doing, with just the head sail out, we were doing still 7.5 knots, somewhere around there. So we're doing just fine with speed. With the reduced sail area, and it actually works better for us. Right now we're doing, I think it's like 13, 14 knots, something like that, 14, 15, whatever. We're still doing 5.5, 6 knots. So still fine. It's just a lot more pleasant for the autopilot, a lot more pleasant for us. We don't have to worry about the boat rounding up as much. So yeah, that's pretty much it.
And I think it's time for drive 10. And sorry for all the motion going on in here. Yeah, it's pretty back and forth.
Rolly.
Little rolly. Hopefully that will get better over the next few days. So as far as 72 hours, a little bit more goes in. Not so bad. Still got 6 days out. So we'll keep you updated. 40. Go, Jonathan, go! Well, shower day is upon us once again on board, and not a fun thing when you're sailing these latitudes. Our hot water heater is another item we have not yet installed, and so bathing in ambient water, not pleasant. We had run the engine for just a little bit this morning to top off our batteries, but it wasn't enough to heat the water, so one of those things you just gotta suck it up and get through it. Matt's trying to boil a little water for his shower as we speak, but it just spilled all over the floor. Poor guy. So yes, that is one thing I am looking forward to definitely when we get to Cork, is a nice hot shower.
Well, that was cold. I tried heating water. We have a little electric water kettle thing, a little 1 liter guy, and heated water, great. Poured it into this big bowl, mixing bowl that we have. Great. It was all going really well. Mixing some other water. Was going to actually have a fairly nice shower. And of course then a freak wave came through and dumped my whole bowl over. And so then I lost that. And at that point it just didn't quite make sense. So just sacrificed, took one for the team and hosed down as is. Freezing cold. Oh my gosh. I have no idea how we're going to do this.
Let me just say that I did it without any supplemental heated water of any kind, and when I got out I called it tolerable. But apparently to Matt it was the worst thing in the world.
Whatever. I'm not manly.
You didn't take it like a woman.
Yeah, so I need to be able to rinse myself in warm water. Yeah, we're gonna have to figure out this water heater thing. It is hooked up, contrary to what Jessica says. It's just it's not heating for some reason. So I don't know exactly what the problem is. I do have to figure out why it's not pumping water through.
Just like everything on our boat, if it's supposed to be producing heat, it doesn't.
Yeah. So we're rather chilly. It just didn't do anything. So that's my story.
Just getting off shift right now. It is 4 o'clock a.m. and it is a misty morning out there. Just kind of like overcast and damp and gray. And that's just going on right now. That's a face that just got out of bed.
It is misty and gross.
It is. And here's the thing too. So I hadn't seen any ships yet since we left the Azores. And on my watch tonight, I get up every 15 minutes to do my 360-degree look, and not really expecting to see much. Of course, keep checking the chart plotter and AIS as well, just to confirm that there's no ship traffic. And I don't know, 3 o'clock this morning, I see something on there. So I zoom in on it, and it's a 600-foot tanker that's going to come within about 5 miles of our stern. So I watch the CPA to see when it's going to come closest. I'm looking, do not see a damn thing. So visibility has to be with under 5 miles right now, which is, fun when you get up and you're like searching the horizon and you can't really see much of what's out there. So thank goodness for AIS, and pretty soon I think we'll be thankful for radar too. But good thing the sun's about to rise in an hour. I'm sure Matt will be happy for that, and hopefully this mist clears up to another beautiful sunny day. Fingers crossed. Well, we did not lose those overcast skies. As you can tell, it is still pretty gray and gloomy out here, although visibility is slightly better. The mist that was hanging around all overnight and into early this morning is now gone, so that's good. And we have hit another milestone today. Well, not only have we hit the halfway point going from the Azores to Ireland, but we are now over 46 degrees, which is the highest that we have ever sailed north. The last time we were close to that high was when we were sailing through the Great Lakes about 7 years ago, going under the Mackinac Bridge. I think that was just under 46 degrees north. And last night we passed that. We're like at 47.5 degrees right now. So that's pretty cool. Winds have been really light, mostly about 8 knots all day. They've just picked up to 10. So right now we just have the head sail out, no pole, no main, and I believe it's supposed to be light for the next 2 to 3 days, so we'll have to see if we feel like putting our drifter out later this afternoon, which is good for the light airs. So that's about it for now. Starting to go a little stir crazy. Mostly have just been sitting around listening to podcasts, not a ton to do, so eagerly awaiting our arrival to Ireland in about 5 more days. So 3.5 knots of wind, that is not going to help us get there very fast. We had been doing all right through yesterday and overnight with about 7 to 8 knots of wind, still making 4 to 5 knots. So the question now is, do we turn on the engine, which we really don't want to do, or do we go through the trouble of taking down our head sail and putting up our drifter, which is really good for light winds, but that may have to come down this afternoon, first thing tomorrow. So it's worth going through the trouble of doing the sail changes for maybe an extra knot of speed. So we'll see. But either way, we need to do something to get ourselves moving a little bit quicker, because even though this has been a comfortable passage so far, I am not looking to extend it into multiple days extra if we don't have to. It's like just a box.
Yeah, it does.
It looks like it has something attached to the top, like it might have been a mooring. The things you see in the ocean. Well, after looking at the weather today, we decided against putting up the drifter. Winds have actually picked up just enough to keep our sails filled, even though we're still wing on wing with the pull-out. Although we did decide to change direction, so we switched each side that the main and that the head sail was on. And now we are starting to make our miles east, which is good because we need to, but there are going to be some north winds as we're trying to make our approach to Cork. So Matt is looking at the weather right now to find out the best way for us to get in there, but at least right now, getting a little bit closer, and we should be able to leave this sail configuration up overnight, and then tomorrow afternoon we might make some changes to directions and to the sails again. But fingers crossed, everything goes smoothly overnight and we can just relax and only have to keep watch.
Under the lazy evening sun, paraiso, come and swan to the local paraiso. Under the lazy evening sun.